can't believe that I already finished my first year at Columbia University GSAPP and my first year of living in New York City. It flew by so freaking fast. This video is my reflection on how this year went, and if you're going to Columbia University, pursuing a degree in architecture, or moving to New York, this video is for you. My name is Polina and welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. I'm really excited to see you here in this video, and I want to share my experiences of living in New York and my experiences of getting my Master of Architecture from Columbia University. If this is your first time on my channel, I also really recommend you watch my video on moving to New York and starting my Master of Architecture degree. I filmed it back in October and it was my first impression of living in this city, and it was just the beginning of my experience attending Columbia for my master's. Now I can reflect back on this year and share with you what I learned about New York, what I learned about going to Columbia, and I hope that my experience will be helpful to you if you're visualizing doing the same thing. First, I want to start with my more generalized experience of living in New York City. I think it's a fantastic city to experience for yourself. It's absolutely freaking crazy. So you have to expect it. It's going to be loud absolutely everywhere, and it's going to be a lot of people everywhere as well. A lot of people on the subway, a lot of people on the street. Sometimes you are just swimming in the sea of people, and it can get exhausting at times. So yes, that's definitely something very characteristic of New York City. I found New York to be very frantic at first, and I have visited New York many times before. I even spent some of my summers here, and then I attended boarding school in Massachusetts, so we spent our weekends in New York. So I'm very familiar with New York, but I never imagined myself living here, and here I was experiencing the city for the first time as a full-time resident of New York City. And I think after LA, it was just really hectic, really fast paced. And I noticed that there's even like hot dog stands everywhere and food stands everywhere, just because people don't have time to sit down and eat properly. They have to like inhale hot dog on a run and just continue hurrying wherever they're going. So that's something very typical of New York. You're always running. And even if at first you still try to maintain your own pace and be more peaceful and relaxed, the city sucks you in pretty fast. So yeah, soon you'll be walking really fast and getting annoyed at somebody who's walking slow, and you're gonna try to get ahead of them. You're gonna not have time for lunch. So yeah, that's how it was for me, for sure. While all of this can be overwhelming, there is still a lot of little pockets of quiet in New York, and if you're moving there, I really encourage you to explore different neighborhoods. It's really convenient that you can take train everywhere, and trains are not super reliable, I have to admit. There were a lot of incidents where I had to take the train and I had to make it to a meeting or class, and the trains were running late and I couldn't do anything about it. So they're not as reliable as I expected, and there sometimes can be like a 10-minute gap before the next train comes, so that's quite a bit of waiting in my opinion. But it's really convenient because you can take the train everywhere, and I really suggest you explore different neighborhoods. West Village, Chelsea, walk on High Line, go to Central Park. Upper West Side is really nice. You can go to Williamsburg in Brooklyn, Financial District, Tribeca, so many amazing neighborhoods. Flatiron too is really nice. So there's always so much more to explore, and life in New York never ever gets dull. It can get exhausting for sure, but it never gets dull, so that's cool. You can also expect to walk everywhere, because you walk to the station, you stand on the train, then you walk from the train. And yes, you can take taxis and Ubers here and there, but I feel like since COVID started, they became much pricier. So a lot of people choose the train, and if I'm not traveling somewhere late at night, or if I'm not in a hurry, then I will take the train for sure. because also it's nice to walk. But sometimes it's not that convenient if you're buying something from Target or another department store and it's chunky. Of course, it's better to take Uber or taxi. Thankfully, when I moved to New York, I already had a lot of friends who lived there, friends even from kindergarten, with whom I went to kindergarten in Russia, and then we somehow ended up in New York together. So in that case, I was really lucky to already know a lot of people and have friends. But if you're moving for your job, or if you're moving for master's or undergrad degree, I think it's very easy to meet people, especially because people are kind of everywhere. And there are ways to volunteer or go to different yoga classes or meet people in so many different ways. So I don't think meeting people should be of your concern if you're moving to New York. The city is just buzzing with energy and there's people absolutely everywhere. Now let's move to talking about my first year at GSAPP. GSAPP occupied most of my time in New York, so I feel like this video should be dedicated to my experience at GSAPP more than my experience in New York, although they're definitely intertwined. GSAPP sucked me in, yeah, for sure. And their master's programs are really intense. I cannot speak on behalf of all different programs, but Master of Architecture is for sure very intense. It's originally 3 years long, but I am cutting it short by a year, so I'm only doing the last 2 years of the program, and 1 year I already completed. If you're going to GSAPP, you have to expect a full-time workload with very probable overtime. For sure, yeah. It's a lot of late nights and it's very demanding and intense. Of course, at the same time, it's very rewarding. I feel like architecture, if you love it, is a very rewarding field. And if you enjoy creativity, if you enjoy design, if you enjoy thinking logically about spaces and procession of spaces and construction and engineering, all of that, then yes, GSAPP is for you, and architecture degree is for you as well. But you can be sure that it's going to be a lot of long nights, a lot of long days, a lot of production. Yes, like we make a lot of models. For example, my first semester GSAPP, we made so many models. Sometimes my professor would tell us to bring 10 models, like sketch models for the next studio. And studio, we have it 2 times a week, and each studio is 5 hours long. So Monday and Thursday, you can expect a 5-hour long class in which you're working and talking to your professors, discussing your project. And then besides those 2 studios, you also have a full workload of other classes, because studio is just 1 class. Studios are located in the main building, the main architecture building called Avery Hall. But then there's also maker space, kind of like a maker studio in an adjacent building, and it's in the basement. And that place is really fun. It has a lot of different machines to cut your models. It has like a wood shop, it has CNC machine, it has laser cutter, so everything you need to be creative and make whatever model you envision. And over this past year, I made a bunch of really cool models, and it was really cool, very craftsy, and it's a really good break from being on your computer. I also have to know that most classes ask you to work in groups. That's a key distinction with my undergrad program, in which most of my projects were individual projects. But here, they always encourage you to work in teams and talk to other people, and I think it's very useful to learn how to communicate with others. Of course, it's nice to do individual work as well, but in real world, you always have to collaborate with everybody, because architecture projects can rarely be built by themselves. You need developers, you need engineers, you need contractors, you need everyone. So yeah, it's a really good skill to have, to learn how to talk to people about your projects, how to convince them in your designs, and how to evaluate their designs and find common grounds. So definitely be prepared for a lot of group work. Something I have to warn you of at GSAPP, and to be honest at any architecture school, is that you have to really watch your health. That's something I completely forget about sometimes, especially as the semester is ending. But yeah, last semester I was just so drained by the end of it. I was really exhausted. And then I got my blood work done and I realized I was low on so many vitamins and minerals that it was no surprise that I was in a state that I was in, the state of permanent exhaustion. So I had to like take a lot of supplements and even did IV therapy. Yeah, so it was a bit intense. So please, if you're going to architecture school, if you're moving to New York, in either case, you definitely need to watch your health. Remember to eat, remember to sleep properly, remember to take your time to just really zone out of everything that's happening in your life. And there is one yoga studio on Upper West Side. It's on the 83rd Street, I think, and it's called New York Loves Yoga. One of my friends from the program, Megan, showed it to me, and I love that place because it's surprisingly very quiet, and they don't even play music when you practice there. And it's just such a small, cute room, and there's like a little outdoor garden with like lights and statues. It's really gorgeous. And whenever I go there, I feel like I disconnect from the world and I feel so much better. And lastly, I also want to say about GSAPP that there are so many amazing creative people. They have absolutely made my experience there such an adventure, and I'm just really thankful. So if you go to GSAPP, if you're planning to start GSAPP, be open to all these experiences, be open to people, be open to talking about everything, and just really immerse yourself, because the experience flies by really fast. I can't believe it's already been a year that I spent there. So yeah, just be open and immerse yourself. It's really the best. To end this video, I want to say that I personally wouldn't change a thing about my year in New York. I also want to say that I really enjoy having both New York and LA in my life. I fly between the two very often, and this bi-coastal thing is just really amazing. If you can do it, I think it's the best to get a little bit of both worlds. And I also want to mention the hardest thing that was for me this past year is not to overwork and not to burn myself out. I made a video about burnout. I am quite prone to burnouts because of my perfectionistic nature, and I sometimes ignore my needs. So yes, if you're like me, please don't overwork. Please take care of yourself, of your health and your mental health, and of course your physical health too. I wish you all the best in your pursuits, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.